And the intro. What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard Sports Media coming at you. Touchdown Tuesday, Season 2, Episode 6, Buy or Sell the 2023 College Football FPI. And we got a couple different things for you today. But Mayhem, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good another week, and it's good to be here, and good to be back on the show.
For sure. We have a jam-packed, action-packed show for y'all today. You know, we're going to do our touchdown takes as per usual, and then we're going to do the buy or sell, and then to end the show, we're going to do a little bit of college football quarterbacks top 5. So, yeah.
All right. So, where do you want to start? I mean, do you want to go ahead and buy or sell the college football FPI?
Yeah. Let's go for it.
All right, let's share screen and pull this up. I forgot to make banners today, but we'll just kind of roll with it here. College football power football index. We start out. I'll try to zoom in as much as we can here. Let's look at the top 5 or 6 teams. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas, and Michigan. These are the usual suspects that we'll probably see this year. But right out the gate, man, they have Ohio State at number 1. I think I have to sell that.
So you're selling Ohio State?
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure they could be good. I don't know about making the playoffs this year, though. I don't know about winning the East. I don't know about them being all the way at the top. I mean, did they not just lose Jackson Smith-Njigba and C.J. Stroud and a couple guys on the offensive line? They got some rebuilding to do.
Yeah, they lose Paris Johnson Jr. at the offensive tackle position. So as well. So I'm gonna sell that one too, and the reason why I'm selling that is because I have a different Big Ten champion, and not named Michigan. I have Penn State winning the Big Ten title this year. I'm just very high on Penn State. I do think Michigan could possibly beat Ohio State. So then Ohio State will have 2 losses, not only to Michigan, but to Penn State. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and sell Ohio State as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where it's not that we're doubting what the Buckeyes can do. It's just we know about Michigan and Penn State. I'm right there with you where it's kind of close. I can't really decide between Penn State or Michigan, but I think those are the 2 teams to beat in the Big Ten this year.
For sure. Now let's go and move on to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Unfortunately for the SEC, I'm going to have to go ahead and sell that, unfortunately, for Ballard. You know, he's a Bama fan. But I'm going to have to go ahead and sell that one as well. You know, you got some really good teams in the SEC. You got the Georgia Bulldogs. You got the LSU Tigers, which both of them are next on the list. And another team that may not be on this list or may be on the list is Texas A&M. They're going to be very good this year. I know last year they went 5-7, didn't make a bowl game. Really disappointing year for Texas A&M, but I'm from what I'm hearing, Jimbo thinks they have a really sneaky good team. So I could definitely see Texas A&M pulling an upset over the Crimson Tide. I understand, last year in Alabama, they were only one play. If that guy catches the ball in the end zone, A&M wins. So I'm gonna go ahead and sell Alabama there.
I hate to do it, but I have to agree with you, man. I mean, you look at the spring this year. The quarterbacks, really struggled in the spring game. The offense struggled in the spring game. The offensive line. I like the defense of Alabama. They got to figure out the quarterback situation very quickly. I mean, it got so bad that they brought in a Notre Dame third string transfer in Tyler Buckner. So the schedule is out for Alabama. I mean, it has been obviously. They got to play Texas week 2. It will be a night game at home. I think they could probably win that game. But then you get to the LSUs of the world, the Auburn late in the season, and it just gets tough. I don't know about us being number 2 in the nation.
Right. And then up next we have my Georgia Bulldogs. I think they're underrated in this ESPN's FPI. I know we have a new quarterback, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, 4-star coming out of high school. And from what I've seen, spring game and stuff like that, I know you can overreact to a spring game, but I mean, he was dotting people up. I think he had like 9 different targets in that game. And I understand, the quarterback's not being contacted or anything, but listen, you're going up in practice versus arguably one of the best defenses every single day in practice, and to get a starting role at the Georgia Bulldogs, you know, we're in a better position than Alabama. We're not going into the transfer portal trying to get a quarterback, right? So obviously, our quarterback's going to be pretty good. So I'm gonna say I'm buying this.
So you're gonna buy Georgia at 3.
Well, I'm buying Georgia. We're doing playoff contenders, so I'm buying that Georgia is a playoff contender.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Georgia returns a lot. They also lost a lot, but because of their recruiting, I mean, they just had to replace their entire defense, and they went back to back with it. I think it's clear that Kirby Smart is doing a great job there, and is building up a great program with Georgia. They should be the favorite for the SEC, if not them, probably LSU, who's next on the list. But yeah, I would buy Georgia here at 3. In fact, I think you're right that they are a little underrated.
For sure. You want to go ahead and start on the next one?
Yeah, so LSU, buy or sell. I think that they're a little bit underrated this year, but I buy them if you want to put them in the top 4. I think that they return a lot on defense. I think Harold Perkins comes back at linebacker, and you get the quarterback back in Jaden Daniels and Brian Kelly. What was he able to do in his first year? Win the division, beat Alabama to do it. I mean, he returns so much, and they should be poised, possibly even for a national title run. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I do buy the LSU Tigers getting into the playoffs. LSU does have a hurdles to go through, but with Alabama being down, and when I mean down, like a 10-win season, right, 10-2 type of down, but with Alabama being down, right, not always in the playoff conversation. I think LSU will step up into a bigger role. You get Jaden Daniels back, like you said. I think he is a top 5 quarterback, which we'll talk about later. But for sure, I'm totally buying the LSU Tigers there.
For sure. Absolutely. Up next, we go to the Big 12, which I'm excited. They just announced that the week 2 game with Alabama and Texas will be under the lights of Bryant Denny. It will be a night game, as it was a noon game last year. But what you think about Texas? I like them to win the Big 12 this year Could they be a playoff dark horse? I don't know about getting into the playoffs, but they are definitely a dark horse and a contender. I like them here where they are at number 5.
Um, listen. I got to pull out the stats for you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, ever since 2015 or 2017, I can't remember the year, but this Texas Longhorn team has been favored to win the Big 12 every single year.
Right.
Texas Longhorns have not won the Big 12 in over 15 years. It's just hard for me to buy this. I'm gonna have to sell it. You're gonna have to prove to me that you can win the Big 12. And I'm not a big fan of Steve Sarkisian. I think he's a great offensive mind.
Right.
I don't think he's built to be a head coach. And that's just my opinion on it. Yeah, he's going to have a really good offense, really good offensive line, really good quarterback, 2 really good wide receivers, right?
Right.
But possibly even more good wide receivers. But you're going to have a stacked offense, and you might have a pretty good defense. But can you coach them, right? We seen Texas A&M with the number 1 recruiting class last year, and they had a powerful offense and a powerful defense. They went 5-7. So not really buying the Texas Longhorns as a playoff contender. I do think they might be a Big 12 contender. Um, so for that reason, I got to go ahead and sell it.
I understand. Yeah, I it's so hard right now to pick. Which now that I think about it, um, I think can I change my answer to sell them as a tough contender? I mean, I like them to win the Big 12. I think we could agree there. I think the only team in the Big 12 stopping Texas is probably going to be Kansas State. Kansas State could be interesting this year, but um, as far as a playoff contender, I think you're right. I think you made some good points that we'll probably sell the Big 12 as a whole, and we'll probably sell Texas. I mean, they did lose. Let's not forget that they lost Bijan Robinson. They also lost Roshan Johnson. So they lost 2 running backs to the draft. And who's going to step up there? Jonathan Brooks or Keelan Robinson? I just don't know if that they'll have the run game. They'll probably have the receivers just a little bit. Tariq Milton, AD Mitchell comes over from Georgia. We'll see what he looks like. What can he do? Um, I, I like him for the Big 12 in a way, but playoffs and national championship hopes, you got to sell that.
For sure. You want to go ahead and start us off with Michigan? Buying or selling playoffs?
I think you have to buy it. I think that JJ McCarthy and everybody comes back. And, I think, like I say, you have to buy that. Now, what's standing in the way? Obviously, a overrated Ohio State. Remember, they were number 1 on this list. They're standing in the way still. I also would say Penn State's in the way, but I don't think it's going to be too much for Michigan to handle. Yes, they have to play both of those teams late in the season. They could be undefeated going into that Penn State game on the road. On November 11th. And then on rivalry weekend, they play Ohio State at home. Of course, be an 11 o'clock game, probably be the big noon kickoff or Fox or whatever it is. And they just, Michigan's a team that brings a lot back. They bring back J.J. McCarthy. Cade McNamara, their backup quarterback, however, is gone to Iowa. I think they bring back Blake Corum, if I'm not mistaken. So he comes back for his senior year. They'll have the pieces. I gotta buy Michigan this year.
Right. I'm gonna buy Michigan. I don't have them winning the Big Ten, like I said earlier. I have Penn State, but I do think that Michigan team, can make the playoffs. They've done it the last 2 years. Um, so yeah, it's definitely possible. You know, if their head coach would stop flirting with the NFL, then maybe he could win a national championship. But um, yeah, I totally see Michigan being in the playoffs once again for a third straight year. I mean, they just have. I've always called them Georgia Junior, right? They're just a smaller version of a Georgia football team. So I'm buying playoffs for sure.
Next up on the list is USC. Caleb Williams. I know you like to talk about him a little bit. How do you feel?
Yeah, so I definitely think Caleb Williams. Listen, last off season, I was not really high on Caleb Williams, but you got to be high off of Caleb Williams after he won the Heisman Trophy this past season. Um, Obviously, USC literally the year before was 4-8. They turned that program slap around and became I believe 10-2, right? If I'm not mistaken. But
Mhm.
yeah, and they kind of crapped the bed in the Pac-12 championship. But yeah, you gotta give. I would say this is very hard for me to say if I'm gonna buy or sell. I'm kind of in the middle. Like this. I'm gonna say this right. I'm not gonna buy or sell. I'm going to. Hmm. I'm going to. If somebody gave me a good price, I would buy it, and I could see myself selling it too. So I'm somewhere in the middle, and I don't know. I haven't figured out this USC team. You got to believe that they're going to have a better defense than they did last year. They pick up Bear Alexander. Um, I don't know. Just don't know. Give me your thoughts.
Uh, I mean, Washington, USC for a Pac-12 championship. I know you're high on Washington, so am I. I'm also high on USC, but for a playoff, I think I have to sell them. And the only reason is because of what they just lost to the draft. You got to go back and look where you had who'd you have? Jordan Addison left, their top receiver. They bring back Mario Williams. They bring back Brendan Rice. They bring back I think at running back Travis Dye, and they're gonna have some good pieces for that offense. But dude, could you imagine? I think I would buy them this year had Jordan Addison not left to go get drafted by Minnesota. Um, I really think that that's a key piece for them. And it is a tough loss. So I think USC just lost some pieces to this draft that they're going to have to replace. I think I don't want to call it a rebuilding year, but they are going to do a little bit of rebuilding for themselves in the Pac-12. And like you said, Washington and Michael Penix, man, they're going to be bad. They're going to be good, bad in a
Yeah,
good way.
yeah, I really agree with that take there. So, um, let's go to the Clemson Tigers. I am buying this. Actually, I think they're a little bit too low on this list. If you ask me, I'm buying this. 100% totally. I'm buying it. Right.
Yeah,
Clemson's going to be sneaky good, very good. They're going to be the Clemson that we all know. I could see them going undefeated and getting into the playoffs at 13-0. Right. I could definitely see that. The ACC is down. I know FSU, and we'll get to them later. I know they think they can beat Clemson, but sorry, buddy. It's just not happening for you. So Clemson Tigers, yes, I'm buying it. 100. They bring back Cade Klubnik. He was a freshman last year. He got to play a little bit there. He's going to be better than he was last year, and he was pretty good last year. I know what the Tennessee fans are going to say. Well, we beat him, and he didn't do good versus us. Well, that's understandable, but it's a bowl game. I mean, come on now. But I think he's going to be much improved. Um, I just see this Clemson Tiger offense being. I thought they were just one offense coordinator and one quarterback away from being back to what they used to be, and I think they got both of them right. They got Garrett Riley, offense coordinator, which is the best hire of this offseason as far as offense coordinators go, and they got the quarterback in Cade Klubnik. So I'm really excited to see the Clemson Tigers. Obviously, I have them in my way too early playoffs. Yeah, man, I'm buying it.
I'm going to have to buy Clemson too. And I'll tell you why. Here's why I'm buying into the Clemson Tigers this year for 2023. I love them to get back to the playoffs. Garrett Riley and Cade Klubnik. Think about what held them back last year and the year before or whatever. What held them back was DJ Uyunglele. I'm just going to be honest. I think he's a bust of a quarterback. I like the guy. I'm sure he's got a lot of great heart, character, and maybe something will work out at Oregon State, but they really couldn't get the passing game together. And now they have Garrett Riley, who just made a championship with TCU. You got to give him props there. The defense is going to be stout for Clemson. And I think the schedule even sets up nicely. They open up with Duke. Now, Duke's no pushover. They did make a bowl game and win 8 games. And you got to be careful there. But I think Clemson will be better than that. The advantage for Clemson is their 2 toughest games, I think, are Florida State and Notre Dame, which they get both at home. And that's a tough environment to go, is Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina. That's a tough environment. Clemson wins 99.9% of the time at home against anybody. And even if the games are close, I expect them to win. They should just run the table through the ACC. And if they lose a game, they lose a game, but they should bounce back and possibly win the conference. I'd give them a nod at the playoff.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And what about this Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Are they going to be fighting their way to the playoffs? Are you buying that? Or have quarterback Sam Hartman from Wake Forest? Does that make them any better? I mean, they lose Tyler Buckner. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Sam Hartman to win the job at Notre Dame. I like Marcus Freeman. I thought he had a good turnaround last year, but he did have a tough start to the season. They're going to have some games on the schedule like at NC State, home against Ohio State, at Louisville, against USC in October. I will sell them on the playoffs. They are not winning probably any of those games. I mean, they got to play Clemson, USC, and Ohio State. I don't think they could beat either one of those teams. So I at least see 3 losses for Notre Dame this year. Probably 2. I don't know. I mean, they get Ohio State at home. They could pull an upset on September 23rd, but I think that I gotta sell Notre Dame. I gotta sell them.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I'm gonna go ahead and sell the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Maybe they can get back to what they used to be under Brian Kelly. I know Notre Dame fans hate Brian Kelly, but I mean, he won a lot of games. If Brian Kelly was there, we would probably be buying this team. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sell this. I think they're a couple years away from getting back. Listen, Marcus Freeman is a great recruiter, right? But I'm gonna have to sell Notre Dame for this year. Maybe in a couple years I'll buy them, but not this year.
For sure. Up next, one of my favorite teams to pull for in college football. Shout out to both of my grandparents who are Penn State fans. How do you feel about Penn State? I think you just touched on them a little bit, didn't you?
I have them winning the Big Ten, so I'm definitely going to buy them. They have, I believe, like 90% of their production coming back. This is James Franklin's best team that he's had at Penn State. So if he don't, and last year they went 10-2. The only losses were to, the only losses that they had was Ohio State and Michigan. This is their best team that they've had since James Franklin got hired. So in my opinion, that at least you lose to one of them and then you beat one of them. So maybe you beat Ohio State and maybe you lose to Michigan, or maybe you beat Michigan and lose to Ohio State. So the Big Ten is a three-way battle, but I could definitely see Penn State in the top four going into the playoffs.
I'm gonna have to buy Penn State as well. I like the five-star freshman. Gonna be a sophomore this year. Drew Aller got some good playing time last year and looked pretty good. Um, Katron Allen is a freshman, gonna be a sophomore running back. But watch out for Nicholas Singleton alongside him. They got a good duo, probably even trio of running backs, and then you got guys like Liam Clifford or Jake Spencer, a couple different guys, Keandre Lambert Smith. I should mention very quickly. I think the talent and experience is there. I really, honestly, I think the only thing they lost that's going to hurt is Sean Clifford. But outside of that, I believe in Drew Allar that he could be the guy to still lead the Nittany Lion offense. I love James Franklin. I love this program, and shout out to my grandparents who are Penn State fans. And I'm buying Penn State this year. I think it's either them or Michigan for the East, and whoever wins the East is going to win the Big Ten and push for a college football playoff spot.
Yeah, everything you said, I totally agree with. Yep, Michigan or Penn State for the Big Ten East, and yeah, I think Penn State is in the driver's seat. I think they control their own destiny to get to the playoffs. And like I said, they went 10-2 last year. I think their team is better this year. So you got to believe that they're going to be better than 10-2. So I'm assuming that they're going to lose one of them two games, either to Michigan or Ohio State. And even then, I still think they punched their ticket to the playoffs.
For sure, man. Up next, we have the Oklahoma Sooners. Are you buying or selling?
I'm selling. I have them in my top 25. I have them at number 25 for a reason. They're going to be better than they were last year. They're not going to win. They're going to win more than 6 games. But they're not going to be 6-7 like they were last year. So they're going to have a winning record, and that's all it's going to be is a winning record. Probably 8-4 there. I think they could. I don't know, with the Big 12 being like it is, they could push to be third in the Big 12. So definitely don't have them competing for a national title or going into the playoffs. Brent Venables, I think he's going to be good in a couple years, but just not this year.
Yeah, I like the Brent Venables hire. I just think he's more of a defensive guy, and I like Dylan Gabriel too. Like there are some things to love about Oklahoma this year, but making the Big 12 title before you leave for the SEC, um, that's a push, man. I gotta sell Oklahoma. Um, I have Texas and Kansas State in my Big 12 championship prediction. I think those are the two teams to beat. Now, Oklahoma, could they be third or fourth behind them? Probably so, but making the playoffs and getting back to it, probably not the year.
Right. Dylan Gabriel's a really good quarterback. Remember
He is.
whenever he was getting recruited, he was recruited by Georgia, Alabama. He was recruited by all the elite schools. I'm not sure why he went to UCF, but he ends up at Oklahoma. I think in an interview with Adam, I can't pronounce his last name, but Gabriel was saying that he didn't go to the Georgias and Alabamas of the world because he wanted to immediately start as a freshman. So he went to UCF. Not sure how true that is or whatnot, but um, he ends up at Oklahoma, and yeah, man, he's a really good quarterback. He's gonna do good, but not playoff good.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm gonna say one more thing.
Next.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
one. I want to say one more thing before we move on because I have a thought. So Brent Venables was left in a really bad situation, right? Um, I guess you could say Lincoln Riley left in the middle of the night. Took both of their quarterbacks. Well, I mean, one quarterback went to South Carolina, and one went to went to USC. So and then some of their wide receivers left, and their tight end left, which he's coming back this year. But just a lot of people just left. I mean, because of that situation, because of Lincoln Riley's situation, he was put in a bad situation for sure. Um, and that's another reason why I have to sell that team. But all right,
Okay.
continue with the next one.
Yeah, Tennessee Volunteers. Lost Hendon Hooker, lost I think Jalen Hyatt, but they bring back a guy. I like Squirrel White on their receiving core. He's okay. Are they? Let me ask you this before you buy or sell. Is it fair to say that they'll probably still be the second best team in the East behind Georgia?
Yeah, that they should be. Them or South Carolina. I'm really high on South Carolina Gamecock, so it's going to be whoever wins versus Tennessee and South Carolina. You got to play at Tennessee at Stadium. Whoever wins that game probably going to end up number 2 in the SEC East. So, yeah, I'm selling this team. Shout out to the Vol Bros for being on my show last night. Shout out to them. Tennessee's going to be good. They might be really good. Just not playoff good. But like I said, shout out to the Vol Bros. They were amazing last night on my channel. Really good people in that. So, but as far as Tennessee goes, I'm gonna have to sell the Tennessee Volunteers as far as playoff contenders.
I'm with you there, and you had a good show last night too, by the way. And I'm gonna have to sell Tennessee. I think they could be good. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of flip flopping between them and South Carolina behind Georgia in the East. I think it could be a coin flip either way. Could Tennessee surprise us and be better than we think? Maybe so, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm gonna have to sell.
For sure. Now we got the Oregon Ducks. Oregon's gonna be crazy good. And I know I have Washington in my way too early playoffs. I'm very high on Washington, but if it's not Washington, it's Oregon. Oregon's going to be crazy good. I'm gonna have to buy this. I'm buying. Dan Lanning is a defensive type of minded guy. Oregon always has that uh, power offense that scores a lot of points. They bring back their quarterback from Auburn, wasn't it Bo Nix? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm very high on Dan Lanning. I think Bo Nix is going to be even better than he was last year. I understand a lot of people joked around whenever he only scored 3 points versus Georgia, but a lot of teams only scored a couple of points versus Georgia. So Not going to knock him on that, but I think they won 10 games last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they're going to be better. So they could either be about the same or better this year in 2023. So I'm buying it. I'm really buying it for sure. And the Pac-12 don't have Pac-12 don't have divisions. I think this is the second year that they don't have divisions. Depending on how the schedules are lined up, we could possibly see Oregon versus Washington in that Pac-12 title.
We absolutely could. And with that being said, it's almost a coin flip. I like Oregon. I like Dan Lanning. I like Bo Nix. My gut says to buy into what they have this year. I think I'm going to buy them. Even though I know what I said about USC, I also buy Washington too. I'm just buying the Pac 12 this year, man. I think there's going to be some loaded teams, and it's a three-way race between those three teams and, what they can do.
For sure. Yeah, I love Oregon. I like Oregon better than I do Southern Cal, if you want me to be honest.
Okay.
Um, I think Dan Lanning has the defense. I think both Oregon and Southern Cal have a great offense, but I think Dan Lanning figured out this defensive thing. So I like Oregon better than I do Southern Cal. Now you have to go first on this one because I've pretty much already told everybody what I think about this team. So go ahead and go first, and then I'll say the same thing I've been saying pretty much every single video.
I gotta buy Florida State. I gotta buy them. Listen, I know they. Here's the trap. Here's the trap. LSU is their opener, and then they have to go to Clemson. I had them 10-2 in my record prediction, but that's still a great season for Florida State. Who, if I recall, last year didn't they go 9-3? And Mayhem left us, but. I mean, you didn't miss. Okay, he walked away because of my take. He walked away because of my take.
No, I'm not buying. I'm not buying it. I don't care what you said.
Okay.
I'm not buying it. I'm not
You're
buying
not
it.
buying. You're not buying Jared Verse on defense, and you're not buying Jordan
No.
Travis.
I'm not buying Jared Verse on the defense because that's one player on defense. There's other guys on the defense. Name them. And the same. You return 90% of your you return 90% of your production, and you let Florida Gators score 38 on you. And Jared Verse, I'm pretty sure, was on that team last year. And you barely beat Oklahoma in the bowl game. No, I'm not. I'm not. You barely scooted by in a lot of your games last year. Now, it would be a totally different thing if maybe you almost got there or something last year and something, or it would have been totally different if maybe you competed last year for an ACC title and you barely missed it, and then you bring back a lot of people. But no, you did no.
I'm excited to see what Akeem Dent does with that secondary. That secondary gonna be strong, boys. Let's go Noles. This year.
No.
Just 1 year, Matthew. Just 1 year.
Let me tell you something, right? So Deion Sanders, right? Deion Sanders picked up Amarion Cooper, Derek McClendon, Bishop Thomas, Brennan Gant, and Travis J. All of them were on Florida State's defense, and Deion Sanders picked every last one of them people up from Florida State. You lose 5 people from your defense. I don't care if they were bench warmers or not. You lost them. Some of them were starters. No, I'm not. No. Georgia loses 5 players on defense, and then they say we're going to take a step back. Are you serious? Florida State don't have the depth that Georgia does. What happens? What happens whenever Florida State
You got the
loses?
coaching.
Who? I want to ask you a question, Ballard. Who's Florida State's backup quarterback?
I got the roster pulled up. You know who it is?
Who?
They got Jordan Travis. They have many different ways they could go with this, but I've heard a lot about AJ Duffy.
And who is he?
A freshman from California. Or
So-
gonna be a sophomore.
Here's the question, right? So let's just say, listen, I don't want Jordan Travis to get hurt, but this is football, right? So let's just say Jordan Travis gets hurt and he has to be out 2 games, right?
Right.
Are they winning the next 2 games?
They might win one.
Exactly. They don't have no depth. Jared Verse, who's the backup to him? Are they going to be good on defense if he goes down? They don't have no depth. They're going to lose a game that they shouldn't lose. I think it's going to be one of the.
What if they don't go down and they stay healthy? Would you buy Florida State?
I'm not buying Florida State. They went 9-3 last year. I'm buying the same 9-3. Yeah, they're going to go 9-3. I buy that. Is that good enough for second place in the ACC? I don't know. I'm still high on North Carolina. I think North Carolina could beat Florida State, if you want me to be honest. I think Drake May is better than Jordan Travis, if you want me to be honest.
He's a 5-star. He's a 5-star.
I'm just saying. I think North Carolina could beat them.
Okay.
I'm not buying Florida State. 9-3 again. If that's good enough to make the ACC title, then you're going to be 9-4 because Clemson's going to skull drug you the whole game. Florida State fans, I really love you, and I want you to subscribe to Ballard Sports Media and my channel, right? But you're not going to be good this year. Even the Vol Bros agree with me. Overhyped. And that's all they are. Overhyped.
Okay.
Let's go to the final team because we're only doing the top 15 here. So Utah.
Yeah.
If they had Cameron Rising fully healthy, I don't know if I would still buy him. I'm gonna have to sell him. Either way, even if they had Cam Rising, I thought they were gonna be very, very. I mean, they won back to Pac-12 championships, but I think they had 2 or 3 losses. I think they only had 2 last year, but Florida, and then they lost to maybe Oregon, I think, last year. So, yeah, I'm not buying them. I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna go ahead and sell Utah there.
At least I just don't agree on Utah.
I just don't know. I just don't know what to expect out of Utah. That's the reason why I'm selling them.
They have to open at home against Florida, but then they go right on the road at Baylor, and they have some trap games and stuff in there. They got to play. Here's why I don't buy them is mainly because of the schedule. I don't, I got questions about Utah roster wise and everything too, but they finished 10-4 last year, a pretty good record, 7-2 in the conference. They were 4th in the Pac-12. But they got to go at Washington late in the year. They got to play at USC middle of the season. They got to play at, Arizona and at Oregon State. And I mean, I'm going to have to sell them because I just think they take steps back. And did they lose like a linebacker and a tight end to the draft? And so they lose some key pieces. They're not the best at recruiting. So they really don't have the talent to back it up. So I got to sell Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. But as far as Florida State goes, that's really the one I totally disagree with you on. The other ones is I would buy Alabama before I bought Florida State. Come on now.
Okay, roll tide.
But you want to go ahead and do our top 5?
Yeah. So
So
our top five quarterbacks you're talking about.
yeah, you want to start us off at number one.
Top five quarterbacks for 2023. I got Caleb Williams at number one.
Well, I think that's everybody's number one. I got Caleb Williams also at number one. Heisman winner last year. He has the best odds to win the Heisman again. I think Michael Penix Jr., which spoiler alert, he's my number two pick there. But yeah, Caleb Williams, very talented quarterback. I did not believe the hype last year, and I was totally wrong. Very good quarterback. It should be everybody's. It should be a unanimous number one quarterback, Caleb Williams, in everybody's poll there. So, what's your number two?
It might surprise you and make you walk away again, but I'm actually going to have to go Drake May from North Carolina.
I thought you was gonna say Jordan Travis. Yeah,
No,
I
no,
like.
I don't have him in my top five.
Well, yeah, okay, that's better.
Yeah.
So, I can agree with that because I have Drake May on my list. I have
Okay.
Michael Penix Jr. He threw for over 3,500 yards last year. He had like 30 something touchdowns. He was just fantastic on a good Washington team, and I think that Washington team is going to be better. Um, yeah, Michael Penix Jr. I have him, and I feel like Michael Penix Jr. is very good. He'll probably be one of the first. He'll be a first round draft pick next year with Caleb Williams. You can go ahead and bank on that.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. 65 completion percentage for him last year, 4,000 plus yards and 31 touchdowns. Did take 5 sacks, did throw 8 picks, clean it up, but I think he gets better and does clean it up. I got him at number three on my list behind Williams and May.
Yeah, I have Drake May at number three there.
Okay, so we
Um,
kind of flip those two.
yeah, Drake May has. By the way, Drake May's better than Jordan Travis. But anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. But
Great.
yeah, I think Drake May is. He was a wasn't he a freshman last year?
Yes.
Uh, so he's going to get better. And I can't wait to see what that North Carolina team is going to look like. It's got to be it's got to be pretty good. I think they're second in the ACC, if you ask me. But that's just me.
Who's your number four? Who you got?
I have Jaden Daniels.
I didn't even think about him. Gosh.
Yeah,
I'm not changing
Jaden.
my list.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels. It's going to be extremely good. He could potentially surprise people and win the Heisman.
Yeah.
I'm just very high on Jaden Daniels. You know, what we seen in that SEC championship last year was not exactly what you're going to see next year because he was injured, right? And listen, I really disagree with what Brian Kelly did. Uh, he wanted to play Jaden Daniels, and because he thought that the other guys wasn't good enough. And as a coach, you need to believe that all your guys are good enough. Nussmeyer, right? He was the backup, and he scored most of the points for the LSU team. Got him to 30 points. By then, it was too late. If you would have started Nussmeyer the whole game, I'm not saying that you would have won, but you would have been a lot closer than 20 points. How about that? But
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, if he has good running abilities. I think he had the most rushing yards last year on that LSU team, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the number one rusher. And he had some pretty good passing yards. And remember, he was injured a lot, so I'm gonna give him a little bit of break if he didn't have great passing yards. But I think he's gonna improve, and I have him at number four.
Absolutely, man. Going to my number four. I mentioned how high I am on Clemson this year. I got to go Cade Klubnik, 5 star. Um, I know that they started with DJ last year and it didn't work out too well. But when Cade Klubnik came in, he lit a fire on that offense and was able to get it going and get it together. You look at his stats. He had 100 passing attempts even. He had 697 yards. He had a 61 completion percentage. The only thing is he had 6 sacks, but that Clemson O line is suspect. It didn't look too good in the spring game, but Cade Klubnik looked okay. Looked like he had a strong arm. Has a rating of 120. So, um, but if he cleans up the interceptions and the sacks, I think he has a bright future. And if they get some receivers, but
Who's your number 5 there?
number 5, hold on, I had it on my phone. I'm gonna give credit to your guy Carson Beck.
All right, for sure. My number 5 is going to be Cade Klubnik, and the reason why I don't have Carson Beck in my top 5 is because he hasn't started a game, right? Um, that's really the only reason. I think he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback. I think he'll pass for over 3,000 yards, have 20, 25, 30 touchdowns. He might have a couple of interceptions there, but I think he's going to be phenomenal. But I just don't want to go out on a limb and say that he's a top 5 quarterback whenever I haven't even seen him start a game for Georgia, or start a game in college. Period. Right. So at number 5, I do have Cade Klubnik. Um, Cade Klubnik is going to surprise a lot of people with the new OC coming in. I think you're going to see a more spread offense. I think you're going to see Cade Klubnik's going to be a baller out there. Okay, like you said, he has a good arm. I think his completion percentage is going to be really good. I'm just really high on Cade Klubnik. I'm high on the whole entire Clemson team, to be honest with you. But yeah, Cade Klubnik comes in at number 5.
For sure, man. I think we've run through everything in the show, but I kind of want to keep it going a little. Would you like to see if one or two people want to come on and give their takes and stuff?
For sure. Drop the link.
Yeah. Well, we're going to drop the link, StreamYard link for you guys. And if you want to give a bold take for the season or want to complain or rant about anything we had to say, feel free to come on and do so. So we'll drop the StreamYard link here on both channels. And we'll give it a few more minutes and then we'll probably, unless people do come on, we'll call it quits. But I think we've had a good show so far, and so we got playoff teams, we got the best quarterbacks, FPI.
Yeah. So
There's
while we're
I think it's yeah. Go ahead.
while we're waiting on people to hit the link there, if they want to, let's talk about the future 12-team playoffs. I want to get your thoughts on what do you like the expanded 12-team playoffs? I'm not sure if we've talked about that before. So, the new schedule there. So, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I like the idea of an expanded playoff. I just thought it should have been 8 teams, not 12. Um, I do have these pictures here if you want to look of like the 24-25 postseason schedule. I actually like how they did this. The only thing is, why do they have one night where it's one game and then one day where it's 3 games? Why not 2 and 2 for the first 4 games? Other than that, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. It's just weird how they set up the scheduling. Like even the quarterfinals, there's 3 versus 1 on particular days, on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. The semifinals, why can't we just have that on the same day? Basically, it's how they scheduled it and set it up like this. Other than that, I think it's probably still going to work out.
Yeah, I think it's going to work out for sure. I have um I have I have the same opinion as you do. I like an 8 team playoff, but 12 team works. I think once it gets started, the college football fans are going to love it. And they're going to act like, well, they never had a problem with it. Well, I never had a problem with that.
Yeah.
So once it gets started, you're going to see some upsets. It's not going to be March Madness, but it might be December Madness, right? I think you could definitely see some teams that shouldn't even be in a Final Four probably get there because of upsets, right? But for sure, I like it. ESPN and all these ESPN, Fox, basically college football has to make money, right? And well, if they thought a 12-team playoff was not going to get viewership, they probably wouldn't do it, right? So they know what they're doing. Whenever they went to a 4-team playoff, nobody wanted to do playoffs, or some people didn't want to do playoffs. We did a 4-team. Everybody liked it. Now they're expanding. Some people don't want it expanded, but some people do. And I think it's going to be very similar to that. So I don't think anybody's coming on. So any final words?
No, man, just another great show. I know we had some debates, but I think that's what makes the show keep going. And I'm just excited for college football this year. I think there's going to be a lot of great, surprising teams. And I hate that it's still the off season and we're still going through it, but it'll be here before we know it. I know that.
Yep, for sure. Can't wait to see my Georgia Bulldogs three-peat.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I can't wait to see Bama miss the playoffs once again. It's going to be exciting.
Man, just think about Nick Saban passing Bear Bryant altogether this year and, lifting up the golden scepter.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Georgia
okay.
going 7-5 and not figuring out the quarterback situation.
Sure. Rat poison. Go ahead and give Kirby Smart some of that rat poison. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get off here. If you like this content, smash the thumbs up. And if you really like this content, hit the subscribe button.
Yes, sir. We'll see you next time, guys. We love y'all. Peace.